Let's have a look at some of the features. So this top section here is called preamp, where all of the amplifier simulators are, and there's a selection of amps from the GT100, so it's the new flagship Cosm amps that are in there. And then normal amp controls, gain, bass, middle, treble, level. Then here we have an EQ and FX2 section, which gives us a 3-band EQ or second phaser, tremolo, boost, delay or chorus. Now that's important in case we're using the modulation section where the chorus is for, say, pitch shifting, but we still want to use a chorus. We've still got a second one there. Or we can use a second delay if we're using one delay here and we can do a second delay, some of those sort of U2 edge type effects. Along here we've got compression and FX1, so that's obviously compression, but also some of the multi-effects, things like pickup conversion, single coil to humbucker, humbucker to single coil. So if you only have a Strat, you can make it sound more like a Les Paul, and vice versa. Very, very handy feature. Overdrive distortion, there's a whole library of distortion pedals in there, some from Boss, some not from Boss. So we can add those to some clean amps, or we can drive the amps and then add some more overdrive. So that's the overdrive distortion section. Modulation section, where we have pitch shift and chorus, tremolo, vibrato, univibe, all those great effects, and also a version of the multi-overtone, which is the new MDP pedal from Boss. Lastly, there's a delay section there. We've got some great analog and tape simulations there as well. Expression pedal along here does all the things you'd imagine it does, wah and volume, but it also does pitch shifting as well, and also a cool freeze function, which is like a piano sustain pedal. So we can play a chord, push back on the heel, and it'll sustain it like a piano sustain pedal, push forward and it releases. So you can play over the top of a held down chord. Very cool. The hardware here, the foot switches, there's now 2 rows of foot switches where there used to be only one in the same amount of space, and they've got they're not rocker switches, they're individual switches here, which are really easy to push, and they come to a point underneath your foot there, so you can really feel where the placement of those pedals are. We've got 4 presets along the bottom, and then bank up and bank down here. Nice and simple to navigate. Also, for each patch, you've got a control pedal, and the control pedal can be turned on and off to give us, say, with this control pedal here, I'm turning the modulation on and off. You can see the modulation light go on and off for that. So we can just, here's a clean sound that I've got on here. So turning it off, control pedal turns on the univibe within that. This foot switch here switches between manual and memory mode. So manual mode is where you've got individual foot pedals here. So you've got 7 individual pedals that just turn things on and off, old school Boss pedal style. Or you can flick it into memory mode, which means that every button here is a complete global patch setting. And you can change whatever you like with each patch setting there. So I'm just going to play through a few sounds here so you can hear. Now this is not going into a guitar amp, this is straight into the recorder that you're listening to. So it's all amp simulations that you can hear. And I'm actually running a plug out of the record phones output just here, which also, when you've got a plug into that, it turns the speaker simulator on the amp simulators. If you don't have that plugged in, it turns the speaker simulator off. You still have the amps on, but not the speaker. Obviously, if you're running into a guitar amp, you don't need a speaker simulation on as well if you're using a guitar amp speaker. Cool, so let's have a listen to a few sounds. So I've programmed a bit of a medley here. You'll just be able to hear a few of these sounds. I'll go through and describe what I've done here. So, bit of a Jimmy sound. And again, that control pedal. Sort of vintage fuzz pedal sound there, into the really heavy driven Foxy. Let's go up the bank to the next bank here. So this is a 70s rock, Brian May sort of tone. Cranked Vox into some harmonies. Another big riff sound. More Dave Gilmour tone. And what we've got there is a basic amp and hall reverb there, but also a heap of compression, so you can get a really clean, sustained distortion. Just sustained to that great tone. The cranked to tape sort of Jimmy Page sound. Of course, a lot of the effects you hear from those recordings are actually post-production effects that are added afterwards. With that case of that, it's tape compression, not actually, not necessarily amp drive as much. So there's lots of different things we can simulate with the ME80. More an Eagles type tone. Now here I'm doing Bad to the Bone, but I don't have a slide, so I'm going to use the expression pedal to change the pitch. And although you can do really extreme pedals with the extreme effect with the pedal, I'm just going to use it really subtly so I can get a slide type effect. So here's my pitch that I'll play on the guitar. Now this is more the Randy Rhoads. Now with my control pedal here, I'm going to turn on a second delay, a slapback delay, and an overdrive for the solo. So here's normal. So there's normal. And the control on it just expands the effect. And the big Eddie Van Halen sound. Now I'm using a strap with a stop tailpiece, so I can do dive bombs with my expression pedal. So that's lots of fun. The 80s rock tones, a bit of Sambora. And then I'm going to use the expression pedal again for pitch shifting. 2 octaves up. Into nice big living colour, huge Mesa Boogie rectifier. And then fade into really heavy modern metal sound. So there you have it, guys, the ME80. Come into Mooloolaba and check it out.